The 2020 AFL home and away season has come to an end. 18 rounds done. It's been a while. It's gone quick, but it's been so long at the same time, and it's finally come to an end now, and it's time for the finals. And I'm joined, as always, by my co-host Quinn DeLuca. How you going, mate?
Very good, very good. It's an awfully exciting time of the year, especially for a Tigers fan right now. We're getting, I'd normally say deep into September, but we're hopefully going to go deep into October, the way things are looking.
Absolutely, mate. I've seen a few memories come up. It's, around this time every year, it's prelim final weekend, isn't it? So usually it's a really exciting weekend for yourself.
Yeah, very much so. Well, I've had memories on my Snapchat pop up today from 3 years ago. I was on the Gold Coast watching the Richmond versus GWS prelim from a few years back. I booked a birthday trip up there. Funny enough, I didn't think we were going to get anywhere in 2017, so they definitely proved me wrong. But it's definitely exciting times and a bit different having the week off.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's going to be going to be really exciting. There's some big games, obviously. Brisbane and Richmond playing each other again, and I think one thing that what I'm looking forward to in that game in particular is the Tom Lynch, Mitch Robinson feud.
I just hope Tom Lynch plays because he does have a bit of a hammy strain at the moment. It'd be nice to see if he gets up for it and, doesn't do anything too stupid, but gives a couple of 1-2s to Mitchy Robinson as he runs by.
That'd be good. It'd be really good. And I think that's going to be a really good game, especially, the way Richmond sort of absolutely dismantled Brisbane last year in the qualifying final. So I think Brisbane would be wanting to get one back on them, and especially with the grand final at the Gabba. I think this is Brisbane's perfect chance to win the flag this year. So that'd be a great game to watch. But in terms of the season, is there any favourite moments that stick out for you?
Ooh. I think in terms of football moments, I think Majak Daw making a return to footy was pretty big for me after everything he went through. Obviously, at one stage he had to learn how to walk again. So to be able to come back and play footy I think that was a pretty special moment in terms of just an all-round, non-Richmond specific moment. Yeah, I was pretty happy with that. How about you?
Yeah, it's tough. It's just, getting the season just restarted again was just an unbelievable thing. As you look around the world, there's a lot of sporting leagues and that got cancelled and didn't restart. So for the AFL to be able to restart it and go through it pretty much unscathed since the restart was really good. So in terms of a moment, just having footy back and trying out new things, especially the footy frenzy, that's something we haven't seen before, and footy being played on a Tuesday, Wednesday night, and that was great. So they're my favourite moments for the year, just having a 33, was it 30 days of footy in a row, something crazy like that. So I think that was my highlight, just having footy every night. So and it's probably something we won't see again unless another pandemic happens, but let's hope it doesn't. But that was probably my highlight, having like a footy frenzy and the footy still being able to be played and having something to watch and do while we're in lockdown. So that was my highlight. But a big news story that did come out of last week was North Melbourne delisting 11 players, which is absolutely absurd, isn't it?
Oh, crazy. Obviously changes needed to be had at North Melbourne. The performances they had this year were pretty poor, but to delist 11 players, that's a massive statement from the club. And it'd be interesting to see who they pick up to replace those 11 players now, and what kind of moves they make, if they go for a total rebuild and get complete youngsters, or what they'll do. So big off-season from North Melbourne coming up, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy, especially players like Jasper Pittard, who they got a lot to get him to the club, and he seemed to be playing some pretty good footy as well, and even Majak Daw as well. So I think a couple of those players will get picked up and go somewhere else. But geez, it's a serious call. I've never seen anything like it. So I guess change does need to happen in North. They had a pretty bad season, so we'll see how those players go. But let's get stuck into the review of round 18, the final round of the season. It all started on Thursday night. It was the game between North Melbourne and West Coast at Metricon Stadium, and it was simply just job done for the Eagles. They just had to win if they wanted a chance at top four. Didn't end up getting it, but they ended up getting a home final by finishing fifth. So Yeah, it was a pretty stock standard West Coast performance, I reckon, and I don't think anyone really gave North Melbourne a chance at all.
No, they're not really. North, mind you, put up a pretty good fight in the first quarter. I think they went up a quarter time leading the game at one point. So impressive from North from that perspective. But yeah, Eagles just did what they had to do, got the job done, played some solid footy in the last half especially. And like you said, coming up now in WA against Collingwood is a big result for them. Playing in Perth will be huge. So good result for West Coast, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've had home finals the last few years as well in the first week, so sets them up nicely. And they're definitely going to be tough to beat come finals time as well. So, but we'll go to the votes. We gave 1 vote to Liam Ryan, 2 votes to Jed Anderson, and 3 votes to Jai Simpkin. Game on the Friday night was between St Kilda and GWS. The Saints secured their first finals appearance in nearly a decade, since 2011. So it's and they did it in style. They absolutely smashed GWS, who on the other hand have just absolutely fallen off the cliff as well. So as good as it is for St Kilda to finally make finals, it's just as bad for GWS to miss out after playing in the grand final last year.
Yeah, well, we've said this, I think, the last few weeks now, but there's so many serious questions that need to be answered down in GWS in the off-season. To have the success that they've had recently and then to fall off the cliff, as you just said, is, I don't know, something must be going wrong. I know there's some talks of some key players leaving. I know Zach Williams is already nominated to go to Carlton. Rumours of Tim Taranto leaving, etc. They dropped their captain last week. I don't know what's happening at GWS, but some serious problems, I think, by the looks of it. But on the other hand, like you said, St Kilda looked very impressive. They take on the Dogs now, round 1 of finals, and they're going in with some pretty good form. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think GWS are at that period now where they either try hang on to these players, or if they and have one last crack at it at the flag. I think they've probably got one. If they can keep all their players, they've probably got 1 year left. But but whether they try start again now and rebuild a little bit, I don't know. It's a club that's in a bit of trouble at the moment, so we'll see how their off season goes. But the votes for that game, we gave 1 vote to Rowan Marshall, 2 votes to Lockie Whitfield, and 3 votes to Jack Steele, who's had an unbelievable season. Saturday afternoon was the game between Essendon and Melbourne at Metricon Stadium, and the D's just did what they had to do, and they gave themselves a chance to play finals. Didn't work out for them, but they just did what they had to do against a struggling Essendon side.
Exactly right. And like you said, there wasn't much they could do. The only thing they could do to try and play finals was win that game, and they did just that. Essendon didn't make it easy for them. They did come back late a little bit. They had a few good performances from the D's, secured that win. And at one point, it was probably looking promising that they'd play finals. So, like you said, just a bit unlucky they missed out, I think. But overall, it was a pretty entertaining game, I thought. Yeah,
it was. Yeah, definitely. Essendon came back pretty late and almost looked like they were going to pinch it, and that would have been a very Melbourne thing to do. But they were able to hang on and kick a couple of late ones. In particular, Jaden Hunt kicked 4 goals, which was his best game for the season, and Bailey Fritsch bobbed up with 3. So small forwards getting the job done there for the D's. But Essendon, though, they still that back half of the season for them has been very disappointing and very concerning. And there's been a lot of talk about them, a lot of unrest in the playing group and the coaching staff and everything. So, a lot going on in Essendon, but we'll get it. We'll review their season later in the show when we've got an Essendon supporter who's going to jump on it and give us his thoughts on it. But we'll save it for then. Votes for that game, we gave 1 vote to Zach Merritt, 2 votes to Jaden Hunt, and 3 votes to Bailey Fritsch. The other game on the Saturday was between Adelaide and Richmond at Adelaide Oval. And the Tigers locking in 3rd spot and the double chance.
I think they're very needed a double chance as well, the way the competition's looking at the moment. It's quite even. It was a good win from the Tigers. Did what we had to do. Like a few of the other teams, I think we just really had to win to try and lock in that 3rd spot. Adelaide did put up a good fight in the second quarter. There was a very popular passage of play that got played a couple of times where the pressure they put on was absolutely immense. And they tried not to win the wooden spoon, but Tigers were probably just too good in the end and Shane Edwards was very impressive in his first game back since round 5.
Yeah, he's a player that is very important to the Richmond team and very underrated. So he's going to be huge come finals time. And am I right in saying that so your 2 flags that you've won over the last 3 seasons, you've finished third at the end of both those seasons?
You would be correct in saying that, yes.
Wowee. And where you finished? You finished third again, so...
Finished third again. And I'll tell you what, every team that's finished first in the last, I think, nearly 10 years hasn't won the flag. So it's looking good for people that are finishing below
There you go.
Aren't winning the minor premiership.
There you go. Well, and then playing Brisbane again, it's almost a repeat of last season. So now things are looking good at Tigerland, and you guys always peak at the right time. So definitely my favourite for the flag. We'll go to the votes though. So we gave 1 vote to Shane Edwards, 2 votes to Matt Crouch, and 3 votes to Dustin Martin, who's finished up the season well, hasn't he?
He's had a solid finish. He was a little bit inefficient on the weekend, but the amount of touches he had and the goal he kicked from the boundary line again, another little banana. He's looking good coming in the finals.
Yeah. All right. The Saturday night game was between Brisbane and Carlton at the Gabba. The Lions just, a little bit too strong for the Blues. Carlton kept up with them and played quite well, apart from the second quarter where they just lapsed. And, same old story for the Blues where they just concede too many goals at once, and that just kills the game for them. So, only ended up losing by 17 points, but that second quarter ultimately cost the Blues in the end. But the key moment in that game was the farewell for Kade Simpson. As we mentioned last week, he's been an absolute warrior for the club. He's a Carlton legend. He'll go down as a great of the game. So, and he actually played quite well in his farewell game too. He was one of Carlton's better players, and for him to kick that goal in the run too was pretty special. So, same old story for the Blues, just conceding too many goals at once, and Brisbane just looking very strong. So, and there, as we said at the start, the finals up at the Gabba, and the grand final at the Gabba, this is the perfect chance for them to win the flag.
Yeah, there's no better opportunity for them than this year, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, votes for that game. We gave 1 vote to Daniel Rich, 2 votes to Sam Walsh, and 3 votes to Lachie Neale. Sunday afternoon, it's the game between Hawthorn and Gold Coast at Adelaide Oval. And the Hawks absolutely smashed the Suns, didn't they?
They did. It was unexpected. I did not expect that from the Gold Coast to finish off the season like that. But the Hawks, on the other hand, sent off their retiring stars in a very stylish way with a big win like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You see Ben Stratton kicked his second career goal, and the players absolutely got around him, which was great to see. And then both him and Piopolo getting carried off at the end as well was good. And they really did send off their stars in style, didn't they?
Oh, they really did. That shocked me to hear that Stratton had only kicked 1 goal before that. Yeah. I don't know why. I just felt like he'd kicked a lot more, but there you go. So it was very special for him, I reckon, to kick 1 on his last game.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they did well there, the Hawks, to send them off. And Gold Coast, they've probably finished the season off not as great as they started it, but they've definitely improved this season, and I think it's a tick for them moving forward. All right, votes for that game. We gave 1 vote to Liam Shields, 2 votes to Jack Gunston, and 3 votes to Tom Mitchell. The other game on the Sunday was between Sydney and Geelong at Metricon Stadium, and this game was an absolute beauty. It was pretty tight for most of it, and at one stage, Sydney looked like the better team, and they looked like they were going to win the game. But Geelong's firepower and superstars ended up getting them over the line, and they were led by Dangerfield, who went forward and absolutely dominated, didn't he?
I was about to say, Dangerfield put that whole Geelong team on his shoulders and said, "You're coming with me, we're winning this game." And he took it all, and he won it on his own boot. The Swans really probably should have won that game the way that most of the game was played. But yeah, Dangerfield just did what superstars do, I guess. Yeah,
absolutely. He was on fire, and Geelong dropped that. I think they would have missed the top 4 as well. So it was a pretty big game for them. They had to win it, and now they finished 4th, and they've set themselves up for a top spot top spot against Port Adelaide, who finished in top spot. Can't even talk at the moment. So Port Adelaide first and Geelong fourth. So yeah, they've got a big showdown with them week one of the finals. But the votes for that game, we gave, where is it? 1 vote to Jake Lloyd, 2 votes to Sam Menegola, and 3 votes to Paddy Dangerfield, who has finished the season off really, really well. The late game on the Sunday was between Freo and the Bulldogs up in Cairns. And this game was one of the games of the round. And, for Melbourne supporters had a very, very keen eye on this game. They really needed Freo to get up for them to play finals. But the Dogs did what they had to do and ended up getting a pretty comfortable win in the end.
It was surprising too. I mean, not that I'm just diminishing the Dogs' performance, but Freo have been a pretty good team lately. And like you said, the Dogs just sort of took over, and I think they knew what was on the line and they had to get the job done, and they did it in a very impressive fashion. Yeah,
absolutely. And I don't think it rained either up in Cairns that day for the first time. So it was a pretty dry game, and Bulldogs just did what they had to do, got the win, and now they are in finals, and they finished in that famous 7th spot where they won the flag from in 2016. So we'll see what happens there with the Doggies. Votes for that game, we gave 1 vote to Caleb Sarong, 2 votes to Tom Liberatore, 3 votes to Lockie Hunter. Monday night was the game between Collingwood and Port Adelaide at the Gabba. This game was a pretty good game, this one, but Port were just too strong in the end and ended up kicking a few late ones to secure top spot. And their first minor premiership, I think it's since they won the flag in 2004. I might be wrong, but I think it's been a while since they've finished on top. And they did it well, and they've been on top since round 1, which is incredible, isn't it?
It is. I think what's also incredible is the fact that they're probably still not getting the credit they deserve. I know Ken Hinkley said it not long ago, but people still aren't tipping them as their flag favourites because I don't know what more we have to do to prove ourselves. We were top of the ladder the whole year. And like you said, it was a pretty close game, but I think good teams find a way to get the job done. And Port did just that and knock Collingwood off and push them back in the 8th spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure why people aren't considering Port Adelaide as a top contender, but as I said, they've been super consistent all year. They haven't dropped away from top spot, and they should be up there with Richmond as the 1-2 team of the year. So see how we go, but I think Port Adelaide, after that performance against the Pies, the Pies were playing for a home final as well, so it was a pretty big game, and Port just looked super strong there. And as I've said, minor premiership secured for them. But the votes for that game, we gave 1 vote to Taylor Adams, 2 votes to Tom Rockcliffe, and 3 votes to Dan Houston. And that is all the games from round 18 done, final round of the season. And votes are all in as well for our leaderboard. And as you've seen on our social media over the last few months, we've been posting the leaderboard every couple of weeks. And the final leaderboard, we've got the final top 5 here, but it comes as no surprise who the winner is. And that is Lachie Neale, who's finished on 30 votes. Second place, Jack Steele on 23 votes. Third place, Jack McRae on 20 votes. Fourth place, Christian Petrarca on 18 votes. And fifth place, Tom Rockcliffe on 17 votes. So pretty good top 5. Jack Steele, absolute bot from the blue this season. He's had an incredible year. And then even Christian Petrarca's elevated his game as well. So 2 young superstars really starting to find their way in the game. But this leaderboard will be posted on social media, so keep an eye on that. We'll also be posting each individual club's top 5 leaderboard too. So keep an eye on that to see who polled well for your club. What do you think of that leaderboard, Quinn? Do you have any disagreements and any shocks and surprises?
No shocks and surprises there. I think the one I'm happy with is probably Christian Petrarca, to see him put a very solid year of football together, who's consistent pretty much week in, week out, which is something he's probably lacked in his last few years. So it was good to see that. And the other one I'm pretty happy with as well is Jack McRae. I think people forget how many disposals he gets every game. He gets massive numbers. And I think people tend to forget that. So it was that was pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just super consistent, McRae. It was... especially in shortened games as well, he'll just continue to rack up the footy and had an unbelievable season. Yeah, Petrarca, I think a lot of people are tipping him as the one that can really challenge Lachie Neale for the Brownlow. So we'll see how we go there. But, Lachie Neale should be odds-on favourite for the Brownlow medal, I'd say, and be hard to beat, especially his first half of the year was just incredible. So all looking good there. Who do you reckon won it for the Tigers? I know I haven't shown you the leaderboard, Quinn, but who do you reckon Richmond's top vote getter was?
Oh, well, I know Dusty came in hot pretty late, so it wouldn't surprise me if Dusty won it. I'm trying to remember who I was giving votes to throughout the year because it's pretty tough to remember. I know some of the blokes like Jaden Short and Liam Baker would have been fairly consistent as well, but I'm going to say Dusty would have had to have been.
Yeah.
There.
We'll keep it as a surprise for everyone to check out on social media. But, there have been some players that have got some really good votes through there. So it's been really good. So it's been fun to vote through that throughout the whole season. So it's been really good. We'll move on to our debate question for this episode as well. We'll get this going before I get our guests on for their respective team reviews. But our question for this week is, who will win the Rising Star? There's been some really good young players this season, and there's a couple that stand out, like Caleb Serong and Isaac Rankin. Even Matty Rao's up there as well. Only played a handful of games, but people are still saying he could win it. So they're probably the main three. Who are you? Who's your tip?
It's a good question. I think Caleb Serong's probably going to be up there with mine. I'd love Matty Rao to win it, but he didn't play enough. I think Caleb Serong for me, he's been pretty consistent all year and he's had some pretty outstanding games. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah. I think Caleb Serong as well. Obviously, along with everyone, would have said Matty Rao up until about round 6 or whatever, whenever he got injured. So, but I think Caleb Serong's just been super consistent. He's just been a shining light for Freo and in a pretty good year for them. So I think Caleb Serong will win it. You've even got Max King who started off quite well. I'm just trying to think. I think they're the main ones that did pretty well. Then Isaac Rankin had that real patch when he came in that really shocked everyone and made the footy world take note of him. But he dropped off towards the end of the season. But I think Caleb Serong's been the most consistent one there.
Definitely. With Isaac Rankin as well, I'll just say, I think we've seen some pretty promising signs going forward with him because he's got that ability and that want to take the game on when the game was on the line. I mean, we saw it against, I can't remember who they were playing, but when he had that shot from nearly 50 metres out, try and win the game, probably a bit ambitious for a first-year player who's only played a handful of games, but the desire to want to do that and take that responsibility is going to be massive going forward for the Gold Coast Suns and for him as a player individually.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's got a lot of swagger, a lot of confidence, and probably a bit too much at times. But I'm sure that can be trained into him. And he's going to be an absolute star. And look forward to seeing him over the next decade. That's for sure. Along with Matty Rao and a lot of the young Gold Coast players. Actually, they've got a great young crop coming through. So it's exciting times for them. All right, well, we'll get stuck into our team reviews for the season. So we'll do 3 teams today, and we've got some guests to come on and talk about their respective teams. And we'll start with the Hawthorn Footy Club, and we'll review their season and get a fan's perspective on all things Hawthorn. And we've got Jacob who's in and ready to talk about the Hawks. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Marcus and Quinny. Thanks for having us on the show. Can't wait. The Pressure Point podcast. I think it's been destined for me to come on the show, but it's finally here. So can't wait to talk about my Hawkers.
Oh, we finally had to give you the opportunity, mate. There's no way we're going to let Jake the Snake go without jumping on. So welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. So yeah, what did you think of the Hawk season this year?
Yeah, a lot of inconsistencies up and down. We finished the season with 5 wins for the year. We're actually 4 wins after round 9, where we beat Carlton. So the second half of the year, we only had 1 win, which came in the last round against the Gold Coast Suns. I I think after 4 rounds, we were 3 out of 4. So we're sitting about 3rd or 4th place. And I thought, okay, maybe Clarko's done some work in the off season, and he's going to bring us back into those years of 2013 to 2015 where we had the three-peat. But yeah, just so much inconsistency and up and down season with a lot of vets coming under scrutiny. Such as Ben Stratton, Poppy. Obviously, they're retiring now, but yeah, hopefully our young guns can pave the way through and make us the great team again.
Yeah, you knocked off the Tigers earlier in the year, and I'm still a bit filthy about that, considering the season you ended up having. It was a bit dirty, but yeah. So you're excited for, I guess, what's to come in the coming years? You reckon you're going to go through a complete rebuild, or how do you reckon Clarko's going to work it?
Yeah, great question, Quinny. Who knows? Clarko, he's a man of mystery. We don't know if we're going to go through a rebuild or we're going to try and get recycled players from Richmond like Tyrone Vickery or Spanger. We don't know what we're going to do, us Hawkers, but I hope he's got a plan in place and they've got some good people around the footy club, so I'm sure something will happen. But I'm hoping that we can really take some time into our young blokes, such as Will Day, Jack Scrimshaw, just to name a few, even CJ. I think our young talent coming through is there. It's just our second-tier players, like the middle players, we need to really work on that area. So, our Tom Mitchells and our Jaguar O'Mearas and our Gunstons and our Bruce, they're our first tier, but it's our middle tier that sort of needs work. So I don't know if they're going to go look to the draft and get some young guns coming through, or as I said, who knows if they're going to get some recycled players and do what we tried to do back in those glory days. But I'm hoping that we can stick through and really take some time into our young blokes. So I do think that there is some talent there, and if we keep pushing through, who knows what can happen. And if it takes 5 years, it takes 10 years. If it even takes trading some players such as Jack Gunston for a first-round pick. Obviously, Sean Burgoyne's getting old there now, so it'll be last year, next year. But it'd be really good for his experience to push through some young blokes. And, hopefully we can get back there one day soon.
Here you go, Marcus. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, who do you think is going to be the next captain now that Strats has moved on?
Yeah, great question, Marcus. I think it's been a bit of a burning sort of topic. James Sicily, some people think that he possibly could take it on. Or is it, our battler Liam Shields has been there through thick and thin. He's been there for a long time and, he might take it. Or is it up to a young bloke like James Warple, who has a lot of leadership qualities? Obviously he was captain Vic Metro, I think, and he was captain for Geelong Falcons. So there's definitely some leadership qualities there. Jaguar O'Meara possibly as well. I would captain. Yeah, I don't know who I'd go, but if I had to probably go outside the box, Isaac Smith. I reckon I'd take him. I think he's been there. He's been through a journey. He started actually back in my Ballarat Footy League for the Redan Twos. He was playing reserves. Got picked up by the Roosters by Jared Fitzgerald, and then they threw him in there. And I think he's just a bit of a journeyman. So I think maybe Isaac Smith or Liam Shields, definitely that experience would help with the younger blokes coming through. Then maybe that's Sicily or Warple that's next in line after them.
Yeah, I think Isaac Smith would be my tip if I had to choose a Hawthorn captain. But you mentioned in your glory days earlier, and speaking of your glory days, the 80s was probably a big era for the Hawks, and you're starting to rock the Dermot Brereton haircut there. You're looking quite good with the old curly mullet there. How long is that sticking around for, you reckon?
Yeah, good question, Quinny. Dermot Brereton, he's my dad. Don't know if it's biological or adopted, but in some way I think he's my father. I go down the street down here in Ballarat, cold Ballarat, should I say, and I got a few remarks. Warwick Kappa, Dermot Brereton, whatever I sort of get, I'll take. But I don't know how long it's going to stay for. It's a good question, Quinny. I don't know if it's going right with the girls, then we'll keep going with it. But if it's not, then it's coming off straight away. But I think definitely for the summer, keep it and let it flow and get down to the beach and, get that real sandy sort of, get sandy sort of beach look. And hopefully a few chicks ask if I surf and that, and I'll say, yeah, I do, which I don't. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll just roll with the punches.
I tell you what, with Dermy's locks and you definitely got Kappa's personality. You're very out there. Yeah. I think you'll be all right with the chicks down the beach this year, especially if you tell me you're a surfer. You got the look for it, so I reckon you have no dramas whatsoever.
Yeah, thanks, Cody. I don't know about that, but we'll see. We'll keep talking, and I've been told I have to give the gap, but I don't know. We'll see.
Time will tell.
Love it.
Now, coming up just after you, Jakey, we've got the glue. We've got glue coming on. Will Guthrie talk about his Saners. Now, just to give a quick preview before he jumps on, tell the people what kind of a man Will is, because we all know that he holds our group together. Hence why he's called the glue. For those who don't know, we're in a uni course together, Jake and I, and same as Will that's coming on next. And yeah, tell us a bit quickly about glue before I bring him in.
There is many words I could describe this man, but if I had to summarise him in a small, short, specific way, he's a saviour. He is the glue. That's his nickname. He holds us all together. If there's a man I could put my head and rest my shoulder on, it'd be glue. He's that man who just lifts us up. If it's a bad day on a Monday morning, everyone goes through Monday morning after a big weekend. You know, you try and have 3 shots in your coffee or whatnot, but glue's that man. He's that extra coffee. He's that extra shot. Like, he is like my father. Dermy Brereton, stuff Dermy. Glue is my father. I would love to have him like in my life. I idolise Glue, and he loves his beloved Saners. He's not really fond on my man Seb Ross down here at Ballarat, who was also part of the Rebels playing group. But those Saners, you can't cancel them out, and I'm sure Glue will have much to say. He's a very, very wise man. So listen to when he speaks.
Oh, we definitely will be. We definitely will be, Jake. Well, he's just trying to join us now, mate. So I'm going to have to let you go. But thanks for joining us, mate. It's been a pleasure. We'll definitely get you on soon for a more lengthy feature. But it was great to hear about your Hawks while we are, coming to the end of their season.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you very much for having me, Quinny. Thanks, Marcus. Nice meeting you, mate. And hopefully us Hawkers can go through a bit of a rebuild. I don't know what Clarko's going to do, but we'll just have to wait and see and sit back in our seat and enjoy the ride. So all the best, boys. Enjoy.
All right. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate. Pleasure to have you.
Cheers.
All right, so that was the infamous Jake the Snake Lohman, up-and-coming broadcaster. Is likened to Roman Bryan, but he's going to be going under the name of Roman Lohman, so very exciting from him.
Beautiful. And I think we've got another, is it the glue? Is that what we like to call him now, is it?
Yeah, we got Glue. We got Glue joining us as we speak. Will Guthrie, the man, the myth, the legend, is joining us. Will,
G'day,
how are you,
guys.
mate? Good,
thank you. How about yourselves? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
can
can
hear
hear
you,
mate.
loud and clear. Just
Sensational.
before we get into it, mate, I'll let you know we just had Jake Lohman on the Snake, and we had Roman Lohman on, and we just asked him to give a quick preview of yourself before you came on, and you might question this. He had some very, very nice things to say about you, and he called you his father figure at the moment, so he's got some great things to say about you, Jakey.
Oh, that's lovely. He's look, I have to reciprocate. He's like a son to me, I just feel like a real need to just look out for him and hope he gets the best out of himself. And he's a ripping fella, so that's actually really funny because I am an old man in comparison to a lot of the boys in our course.
Yeah, well, a lot of the boys are fresh out of high school, so even I can relate. I'm a few years older than them myself. But we'll get right into it. We're here to talk to you about the Saints today. The Saints made the finals, first time in a decade. How you feeling?
Mate, it's been a long time between drinks. So, I look at it. It's been a rough 10 years. I think the roadmap to 2018, as it was sold to us in 2014, was a total disaster. And, to turn it around so quickly, I think was fantastic. So I think in terms of good, you can't really go past the finals being, the drought-breaking appearance. But I also think like the recruiting was really good. You sometimes get a bit reluctant, like we're a bit skeptical because you see like a whole bunch of new guys come into a club and maybe they don't necessarily gel straight away, and it takes a bit of time to get that on-field performance to be the level it can. But for the Saints, they seem to really all have an impact straight away, and not just Dan Butler, who's obviously been great, but Dougal Howard, I think, has been really, really strong down back. Ryder in the ruck was pretty handy, and Zach Jones was really important, and that's not even mentioning Hill, who I think's got a lot of improvement left. So, yeah, I mean, I was a bit nervy after round one when we went into that break and we coughed up a 5-goal lead to the Kangas at halftime. But I had a few months to settle down, and then luckily we came out and started winning a few games.
Give us your thoughts on Jack Steele. We were talking about him earlier, and he's just had an incredible season. And obviously, he's going to be up there in the Brownlow medal as well. And he's sort of just come out of nowhere this season and just been one of the best players in the comp. So, give us your thoughts from a Saints perspective. I know you probably love him.
Oh, mate, we froth him, I'll be honest. With a few of my Saints mates and I have got a little WhatsApp group, and it's called the Men of Steel. We just, yeah, I mean, that was one of my little points I wanted to bring up. If anyone was sort of feeling bad for Alan Richardson, just remember that he was using this bloke as a tagger for the last few years. And, Rats has come in and actually gone, go find the footy yourself. And he's absolutely tearing it up. I wouldn't have him in the category of, Bont and those kind of guys, but he's, probably going to get an All-Australian blazer, and he's just really become our A-grader that we needed in the midfield. So, yeah, we absolutely love him, and he seems like a real heart and soul player, and hopefully our next captain.
Yeah, right. You'd say he's likely to be your captain. He just looks like he has a lot of leadership on field. And I'm a big fan of a few of your boys at the moment, Rowan Marshall and all that. But I know you mentioned Dan Butler before, and I'm still bleeding being a Richmond supporter that we let him go. He did have a quiet season, and we let him go, and he's become one of the best small forwards in the league. He must be very happy with Dan Butler.
Yeah, absolutely wrapped, mate. And, sometimes I think it's just a matter of getting an opportunity, and he doesn't have a lot of competition at the Saints for that small forward role. And I think, he may have even mentioned at some point that he hasn't had a proper preseason for a while. So seeing him have that and string together some good footy, and he's just never out of it. He had a really quiet game the other night against the Eagles, but he popped up and kicked a late goal that kept us alive. And he just has that X factor that we've been crying out for, and class. He actually can put the ball between the sticks, which is our big problem for the last few years. We were the worst shots at goal in the comp.
I think one of the underrated things about Dan Butler as well is his work rate. I know there was footage of him from the game on the weekend, and he got the ball, I think, towards the half-back line, and you see him, the footage, he runs all the way across the ground, down to the forward line, snaps a goal out of it. And it just shows that work rate, which is what a lot of clubs are desperate for, and he brings it to the Saints big time. Speaking of that, I was going to say just quickly, what did you make of the game against the Giants? I mean, it was obviously pretty impressive.
Oh, mate, I was convinced the Giants were going to come out breathing fire, and Knigs would tear us to shreds after dropping himself and all the rest of it. So, that second half was the best we've played all year. I couldn't believe it. And yeah, look, I was absolutely wrapped. You can't complain when you have a big win like that. 50 points in a shortened game is nothing to be sneezed at. And a problem we've had all year is putting teams away. And we seem to do that pretty well on Friday night.
Yeah, what's your highlight of the season so far? I know you guys have still got finals to play, but if you had to give us a highlight, maybe your best win or best moment from the season, what would it be?
I think the win against Port Adelaide in Adelaide. Port have been top of the ladder all year, and we traditionally don't ever win out of Etihad Stadium. So going to Adelaide and winning 2 in a week, particularly beating Port, who were they probably had a bit of an off night, but we were still really good. And guys like Paddy Ryder and Butler again. And, a lot of our new recruits really on song that night. It was just, it sort of gave you a bit of belief that, maybe we actually can play finals.
Now, I know you weren't too optimistic about the Giants, and you told me that numerous times leading up to the game on the weekend, but how are you feeling about the Doggies round 1 of finals?
Yeah, look, I feel a bit silly now, but we, lifetime of experience just makes me be a bit optimistic or pessimistic, Quinn, but I think it's a winnable game. I think getting it in Brisbane is huge for us. We seem to play the Gabba pretty well. And, I think I'm not saying we will win because they're a really good side and they're in form, but I think we match up well and a couple of injuries might hurt them. So I think we're definitely a chance. And if we win that, then for me, that's, expectations exceeded for the season.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I know, just quickly, you mentioned him before, Rats, how he's done such a good job. He changed Jack Steele's position, et cetera, et cetera. I know there's a few Carlton supporters happy to see Rats get another chance at coaching and do some good things. So are you pretty happy with the way what he's done for the club, and you reckon he'll be around for a fair while?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he was pretty. I know Marcus might be able to offer a bit more in this space, but I think he was a bit stiff at Carlton. He was playing finals footy, and when he got sacked, I think he'd won 11 games that season. So he was obviously a decent coach, and then he spent so much time under Clarko, it could only have made him better. And now he seems to have done wonders for us, in such a short space of time. So I'm hoping that he is really our long-term coach. And I'm delighted because he seems like a really nice bloke, and he's obviously had a bit of personal tragedy off field. And to see how the players sort of seem to get around him, I think that, says a lot. And from what I'm hearing, he's really popular in the football department and all around the club in general.
Yeah, absolutely. That Rats is one of the best going around. And as all Carlton supporters at the time when he did get sacked, we were all pretty shattered about it. And I think the only reason why he did get sacked was because Mick Malthouse was available. And, we all know how that went down. But, we would have loved to have had him back last season when we were looking for a coach. But, the Saints have got an absolute beauty there. And I'm very jealous. And, I hope he does well for you. He definitely deserves it, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's all we've got time for. We've got another guest that's knocking on the door, trying to jump in as well. But I really appreciate you jumping on, having a chat with us. We'll be sure to definitely get you on again for a bit more lengthy chat, I hope. But seriously, thanks for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
No worries, lads. Thank you for having me. Love the podcast. Keep it going. I'm an avid listener.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you very much,
Appreciate
mate.
it. Cheers.
See you, mate.
All right. Well, so we'll get stuck into our Essendon review, and we've got a passionate Essendon supporter that's going to come on and help us review their season. Joey, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. How are you? Thanks for having me on. Hope we're all well in the lockdown.
No, mate, we're going well. We've still got footy to talk about, so that keeps us going. And we're happier now that we can chat to you about the Bombers. What are your thoughts on them in 2020?
I'm sure you are. Well, I'm not all doom and gloom like three quarters of our fan base, but I'm not going to pretend that it's all rosy at the same time. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, you started off the season quite well. You won. Was it 5 out of your first 7 or something like that? And then you could only win 8 of your last 10 or something like that. So, you lost 8 of your last 10 games. So what do you really put that down to? I know you had a lot of injuries, but, what do you really put that down to?
Well, if you scroll back to the Collingwood game and you dissect that, you looked at that was a brand of football that looked sustainable, that was going to make us contend. But obviously, if you strip it back a few layers and have a look who we lost post that game, you tell me what list is going to be able to contend with the talent that we had missing throughout the season. So you look at that game, Stringer pretty much dragged us over the line with Dylan Shield, and then he did his syndesmosis with his ankle injury the last 3 minutes of the game, jumping for something that he didn't need to jump for. And, Dylan Shield was BOG out of the midfield. They were, at the time, pumping him up for Brownlow chances, and he's out for 2 weeks for a hit that barely touched McDonald's head. So, you look at that, it hasn't helped, that's for sure. But I'm not going to sort of use that as an excuse for why it's disappeared so quickly. That was disappointing, rather disappointing.
Yeah, for sure. Injuries are absolutely, especially to your key players, which is completely understandable. But I think the big thing, that's been talked about lately, is the whole coaching issue with Woosha and Rutten. What are your thoughts on that? Did you agree with it, and do you think it was necessary to have?
Whether I agree with it or not is irrelevant. I don't have a personal view there. It's just that's what they went with. You back it in and hope that they get it right. I don't have an issue because Rutten, by title, wasn't the senior coach, but he was, and John guided him throughout the year. So now he comes in fresh, having a year pretty much coaching, yet didn't have to cop any of that coaching responsibility. He knows what it's all about now. He's got good people around him that have come from premiership backgrounds in Carousel. Everywhere he's been, the flag's followed. Collingwood, Richmond, Geelong. So he's got the people there. He's got the people there. I think we'll be okay.
Now, some promising times, hopefully in the future. But speaking of the future, I know one thing that's speculated quite a lot at the moment is Joey Daniher. And I guess we have to ask the question, as a Bombers fan, do you think he's staying?
Not anymore, I don't know. I think if he was staying, he would have already come out and said so, like Papley did. Like he did with Sydney. I think he's checked out already. So, unfortunately, that's how it goes. But, for him to go, something has to come back in the other way, that's for sure. So...
Who would you be looking at as a Bomber supporter? Who would you be looking at to replace Daniher? I know someone like Ben Brown is now free. Would you be looking at someone like him, or what would you bring in?
Well, I wouldn't be throwing the mega dollars that they're talking about at Ben Brown, nor Jeremy Cameron. There's a guy at the Gold Coast that's it's about 2 meters tall that can't get a look into that side, and you saw last year what he can do. So I'd be trying my hardest to go after Peter Wright. Clearly can play that key position role and have Stewart as his number 2. And he'll take the best backman away. And that's who I'd be going after.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think there would be any other players to exit the club? I know there's been talk about Adam Sard recently. Do you see any more, or do you reckon you're going to hang on to these boys?
No, I do. And a lot of it comes down to a lot of talk that the senior blokes aren't happy that Bell Chambers didn't get a farewell game, supposedly.
Yeah.
So Hooker, Hurley, and obviously Joe and Horacio are looking at going, if you believe those articles. Now, if those blokes want to leave because they're not happy that a guy didn't get a farewell game, and prevent a guy who's our future ruckman having more experience and competing against arguably the best ruckman in the comp, then as far as I'm concerned, they can go, because that's been the problem with this club for the last 15 years. The players have expected plenty and not had too much to show for it. Now it's time to get rid of that culture, and I think Ben Rutten he will drive that out. It's not their decision, so I do expect more departures, which I think is needed.
Yeah, do you think things like that as part of the culture, maybe being a little bit too friendly, a bit too nice of a culture, might need to be a bit harder on them? Like, obviously it would have been nice for Bell Chambers to get a farewell game, but at the end of the day, it's a business and you've got to do what's best for business.
Absolutely. I have all the utmost respect for Bell Chambers. He stayed for 13 years, even after what happened with the drug saga. So he's a loyal Essendon person. But that culture that you're talking about, it's you look at the Essendon, what has our culture been for so long, and it needs to be stamped out, and they need to stand for something. So if that's what it's going to take, get rid of those players, and then I'd be all for it. And you want players that want to play for your football club anyway, so get rid of them.
Yeah, for sure, mate. No, I love it. All right, well, give us a highlight of the season and give us your low light. I mean, you said it's not all doom and gloom, so there's obviously something that may have stood out to you during the year, and give us that, and obviously give us your low light as well.
Oh, there was. There definitely was highlights. We found a really, really good centre halfback / halfback flanker in Ridley at 21 years old. That to me is probably the highlight of the year, and obviously we've now found a ruckman that looks like he's a young ruckman that can compete, and he looks like he can be something as well in Draper. Now, when you look back at the last 5-6 years, you can't really say that you've had a ruckman. You can't put Bell Chambers in that mould that he had the potential to be a top 4 or 5 ruckman in the comp. You look at something like Draper. I know he's still young, but you can just see that with more work, with more ruck craft, he can be something pretty special in that part of the ground for us. And if you were to go low light, definitely how we fell away once we entered that hub. That would have to be my low light. How quickly and how easily we were beaten, and that would be my low light for the season. That's for sure.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the round 4 game against the Blues was going to be your low light.
Yeah, well, as you can see, the majority of the way Carlton win their games is by us. They need ahead on the line, something of Falcon that Jones had no idea what he was doing, and somehow kept it out without even trying to keep it out. So, and then you look at them as well, getting free kicks for deliberate out of bounds and downfield free kicks. Like, yeah, it makes you wonder. Doesn't it, Marcus? Seeing carrying on like they won a flag. That's it's fantastic.
Well, obviously, this end of the season, it's a bit later than normal, but we will be heading into finals. And unfortunately for yourself, the Bombers didn't quite get there this year. So I'm guessing this means now you'll be supporting the Tigers for the final series.
Well, look, considering it's been fantastic that after so long your supporter base has rediscovered what AFL actually is. So, as quickly as as you guys jumped on, I can't see why they wouldn't have any more bandwagoners jump on the train, my friend.
Well, the more the merrier. You're more than welcome to buy a Richmond membership.
Well, only 3 years' time before Harvey Norman comes back into play with those microwaves. It won't be long.
Oh, I love it. Richmond and Carlton would be your 2 most hated teams, wouldn't it?
By far. But, and I know you haven't got long with me, but I will have one little rebuttal at the so-called 4 biggest clubs, the 3 that have tried potting us in the last 10, 15 years. Obviously, it's Carlton, Collingwood, Richmond, Essendon. That's the 4. But Carlton supporters like to go after us because we haven't won a final in 5,000 days. So I
can get the exact number up for you if you want.
I'm sure you can. But I am glad you measure success as winning elimination finals. But in that meantime, it's in the last 8 years, Carlton hasn't made the finals once, even with 16 first-round picks on their list. So compared to our 4 times making the final, so if they do want to go off that, then that's so be it. And then I go over to Collingwood, who like to go on about that number as well. Yet since 1990, when they beat us in the flag, both clubs have won 2 flags each. So I can't understand what there is to brag about there. And as for Richmond, their supporters, I don't need to say any more. Like I said before, welcome back to the AFL, guys.
Now, you're right. There are a lot of bandwagon Richmond supporters, but I think at least the good thing about a Richmond supporter is when they lose, they can sort of accept the loss and not blame it on everybody else other than their own performance. Do you think that's fair to say, coming from a Bombers supporter?
It's fairly. That's a fairly hypocritical comment. I do recall plenty of time Richmond supporters spitting on umpires back in the day, and Danny Frawley, rest in peace. I do recall them spitting on their own. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where you're going with that line. I'm not sure.
You dug yourself a hole there, didn't you, Quinn?
I was only a baby in those days. I don't quite recall.
No, we love it, Joey. We love your passion, mate, and we respect that. We all banter about the big clubs and banter with each other about it, but we all have that respect, and it's great, and it's what makes footy so great, and we can't wait to get back to the footy, and especially those Blues Bombers games are absolutely fierce, and absolutely love them. So look forward to it, mate. But thanks for coming on. We do appreciate it, and hope you have a good off season, and hopefully Essendon can hang on to a few of their players.
Likewise, mate. Thanks for having me on, and go Dons.
Thanks, Joey. Appreciate it.
Good on you, boys.
See ya. Bye. All right, so that's all we've got time for on today's episode. But as we say every week, make sure you leave us a review, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify. We appreciate all the support that's coming through. It definitely doesn't go unnoticed, and we love it all. So really do appreciate it. But have a great weekend. Enjoy the pre-finals bye, first weekend without footy in a long time. So enjoy it. Stay at home, wear your mask, and we hope your finals team wins.
Pressure point! Pressure point! Pressure point! Pressure right! Pressure right!